Hey everyone, Chris here from Real Rideshare Stories. If you're new to the channel and you're looking for different things within the rideshare industry, whether it's news, tips and tricks for passengers and drivers, or what actually happens on real rideshare rides, start now by hitting the subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications. So let's get right into it. Uber is now testing a feature to allow some drivers in California to set their own fares. Now, this is surely in response to AB5, which became a law January 1. It has not been enforced. There's been lawsuits on both sides being introduced, which is a whole mess over in California. But Uber has taken new steps to further distance themselves from AB5-like legislation or blur the lines on that ABC test, making drivers seem to be more independent contractors than employees by giving them the ability to set their own prices. Now, this is being tested in certain areas only of California, but it's pretty interesting that it is happening. So I'm going to refer to an article now. If you want to check that article out, you can check out the link in the description below. All right, let's get right into it. As you see, this is a Wall Street Journal article. Links in the description below so you can read the whole article. There's just a couple of pieces I'm going to take out of this because some of it can be a little bit confusing how the fare setup is going to be. So seeing it in print and in speech will probably help the best so you can understand it instead of just me kind of talking about it. So the title of the article is Uber is testing a feature that lets some California drivers set fares. So I'm just going to pull a couple of highlights out of this. But right here, Uber is testing a new feature that gives drivers in California the ability to set their fares, which is the latest in a series of moves to give them more autonomy in response to the new law. Starting Tuesday morning, right now, drivers who take passengers from airports in Santa Barbara, Palm Springs, and Sacramento can charge up to 5 times the fare that Uber sets on a ride. So if Uber sets a fare at $10 for that ride and a driver wants to charge 5 times that amount, that means that that same fare, the driver will get $50 for that fare, minus the service charges and stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty interesting at how it goes, but it will come with a catch, and that's what I'll explain in a minute as well too. So Uber confirmed in an email that they are doing an initial test that would give drivers more control over the rates they charge riders. And again, this is in response to AB5, which they talk about in the next few paragraphs. So if you want to go through and read that, you are more than welcome, as well as a couple of changes that they've already made. I've made videos on that. You can go back, check those videos out as well. But right here, Uber's latest change will be setting up a bidding system that allows drivers the ability to increase fares in 10% increments up to a maximum of 5 times Uber's price. The person involved is developing the feature set. So once a rider pings the Uber app at the locations in the pilot program, which again is Santa Barbara, Palm Springs, and Sacramento at the airports, Uber will match the rider with the driver who has set the lowest price. So it's a bidding system. So whoever is the lowest price will get the ride first. So they're not going to be doing location-based. They're not going to be doing queue-based. They're going to be doing the bid, which is bid-based, and that is going to be whoever has the lowest fares. So drivers who have higher fares will be gradually dispatched as more ride requests come in. So once the lower tier of drivers who are taking the lower bids all have rides, then they will start increasing whoever the next lowest bid is. So if you have drivers that have it at 1.5 and that's the lowest, they're going to get it. Then the next driver who has it maybe set at 1.8, they'll get it. Then at 2, and so on, up higher and higher. But as more drivers come in, if it's set at the 1.2 fare or 1.5x of the fare, they will get the rides first as well. So again, it's not looking like it's a queue system. It's looking like it's going to the bid system. All right, so while the changes give drivers more autonomy, setting fares too high may result in fewer trips and longer waits. For riders, this feature could result in higher fares and more volatility. Uber also risks losing riders to rival Lyft, which hasn't announced any change to its app at all. So all of these changes that have been happening all are on Uber. Lyft has not made any changes yet whatsoever. They're still continuing the exact same way, which is pretty interesting because usually you see Lyft changing their whole concept to match what Uber does. But so far they haven't yet. So it's going to be pretty interesting to see what happens if they change anything at all. So one of the things that they're doing is by testing this feature in smaller cities, Uber wants to limit any potential damage to its business. So that's why you don't see it in San Francisco. You don't see it in LA. You see it in these smaller airports, Sacramento, Palm Springs, and Santa Barbara. So Uber will use this feedback from the initial rollout to determine whether to broaden this measure statewide. So again, this is going to be something that's statewide in response to AB5. Now, Uber is not making these changes because it's the benefit for the driver, but it's going to benefit them more. They're making these changes so that they can curtail AB5 and continue to have drivers as independent contractors versus employees because of that ABC test with AB5, where they would probably not pass that in any way, meaning drivers would be reclassified as employees. But with these changes, it's giving drivers more flexibility, more ability to earn the way they want to earn, more information so they can be more profitable, and the ability now to change fares, which is going to be good for drivers who want to exercise that ability, but some drivers won't. And because it's done to a bidding process, what's going to end up happening is drivers can continue to stay at that same rate where they're going to get a bunch of rides because they're going to be the lowest bid that's coming in versus somebody who's higher. But it's going to give the ability for Uber to say, well, we're not setting the prices. We have our minimum price that we set, but drivers have the ability to set up to 5 times that amount. So they are the ones who are choosing their own prices. So it's creating this competition and this bidding war that will happen between drivers itself. So the only way to overcome that is all drivers would have to say, well, we're not going to take a ride under 1.5 times the amount that Uber says or something. And then that way, more drivers can benefit from it. But that's where you're going to start seeing is that Uber will then say, yeah, well, they can choose their own prices as drivers, what they want to drive at. We just set the bar, the minimum bar, and they have up to 5 times that amount. But on the flip side, somebody who is charging 5 times the amount Uber is stating, Uber is going to like that as well too, because they're taking a 25% service fee. So if you have a $10 fare is what Uber states that ride would be at, Uber would receive $2.50 of that fare. You as a driver would receive $7.50 of that fare. If you charged 5 times the amount of what Uber states that fare is, instead of $10, now it would be $50. That means Uber would get $12.50 at that 25% cap on that same exact fare. So they're going to like it on both fronts because, yeah, they're able to take the blame and the pay off them and put it onto the drivers saying, oh, well, the drivers have the choice. But then when they do pair drivers who have those higher fees or the fare sets, they will also be able to collect a higher service charge. So it's pretty sneaky on their front. So what do you think about this so far? Do you like this feature? Do you want to see this roll out statewide? Do you want to see it roll out nationwide? What do you want to see? Comment below and let me know. Now, for me personally, I do like the changes that Uber is making in California, and I would like to see this rolled out nationally or worldwide. Because it gives the ability for drivers to make better decisions on the road when to accept a ride and when not to. And then also the ability to now name your own prices, essentially, and coupling that with the ability to have a clientele or repeat customers. If you're able to use these tools effectively, it can actually make you a little bit more money than what the normal has been. Now that's the end of today's video. Hope you guys learned a lot when it comes to being able to set your own prices, as well as why some of these changes that Uber is making. Now make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you'll be notified every time a new video is uploaded. And as always, never drink and drive, always tip your drivers, and we'll see you next time.